Hello everyone, how are you? This is Zheng from here. As you can see, this is the Morningside, Morningside area of Columbia University's entrance. From far, we can see today actually is quite peaceful. I would say that's a good news, good sign, right? But you can still see that the campus gates are closed, and only Columbia's people with their IDs can get in. There are police around. There are some, let me see, not so many. There are a little bit distance with a few police cars and some news stands. This side there's some police people. They blocked the partial of the sidewalk. And this is from NBC. Oh, Ken, that is Ken. Hi, Ken, how are you? From NBC's crew. And there's a few other news, NY1. I saw that. This side, you can see the far away a few New York police cars. So today is much peaceful, and it's a good sign at least. But I still feel like it's such a pity. Things started with a good intention, but ended at a very bad ending and a mess. And now kids, students or people come out from that door from Columbia Universities can feel like their face. Nobody's happy. Everybody looks quite heavy, and some of them look like really a little bit miserable, because now their future uncertain for everybody, right? And I would say first of all, for those students, I'm not talking about anybody from outside, okay? I know there are so many different forces, different voices, and today is totally not about politics, okay? This is about where I want to explore and talk about what is true leadership. Among the big background, among the wars, the chaos, the protests, what is true leadership? And now starting from the protestants, the protesters, the initial intention, especially the students, many of them, right, they want to call for the cease of the war between Israel and the Gaza area and Palestine people. But the results is pitifully. I was just chatting with Ken from NBC's crew. It's just standing from a third party standpoint, I feel it's a pity. The students, they have a good intention, but they did not maybe use the right approach. I still would say I admire their consciousness, their conscience, and their courage to do this kind of protests. But the approach they are doing, maybe not the wise one, right? Including, for example, occupying the campus lawn, setting up all these tents, and interrupting all these operations of the campus. And even some of the university, I know that they are requesting for cancel all the files. And also, especially in Columbia University, the students later escalated the movement to occupy the academic Hamilton building, the hall building. That's not a right, really, movement direction. And especially now, I would say the students, they are at the most vulnerable position, us only students, because many of them come from maybe local or maybe from nationally from US, but quite some of them also from internationally with their visa. And as students, they are now, in their own words, they say they are facing this kind of a siege. Hundreds of them, around 200, are arrested from Columbia University, and totally over 1,000 students were arrested from other universities as well nationally. And they are now facing those kind of consequences and a punishment, including some of them suspension, and some of their the graduation or maybe the degree, right, will be negatively impacted. Maybe they will not even get it. And quite some of them, especially for not just those protesters, but all the Ivy students now, they are facing a negative impact because their career could be really impacted. Now, if you see the online, all this kind of let's see, let me get some lights. The online news and reporting, and people are very against Ivy universities and saying that they should not, those kids, maybe their future careers will be negatively impacted as well. And I just saw 2 days ago, right, May or yesterday, Forbes just published this news. announcing the new Ivy universities. They are trying to, it's just like discard the previous prestigious ones. They want to establish new ones. They call the new 10 public Ivy schools and 10 private universities. For me, as a parent, my son actually this year is going to universities. Sounds like luckily he will go to one of the new Ivy, a public university. But I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling very proud as a parent. I feel like it's unfair. I feel like it's unfair for blame all these kind of responsibilities, including the big context, right? The wars and all this protests to the Ivy universities, including especially all these students. There are so many students. They are rich students. They are from rich families, and they are entitled. They are troublemakers. Many companies do not want to hire them now, and I see that in the comments, hundreds of comments under last time Forbes publication about the new Ivy schools. Only I say almost one voice. Everybody's blaming those Ivy schools and Ivy students, saying that should not hire them, should not how to say the students from just regular universities are maybe working the best. Things like that, I feel now there's a danger, from the online, all this kind of news. There's a danger of a single story. A danger, and especially the part of the puzzle for me, I feel there's a misleading there. I don't know if it's purposeful or unpurposeful, but it's just misleading. People thinking that the protesting is anti-Semitist. How to say that? They say the anti-Jewish people. I feel come on, I'm not joining the protesting, but I'm peacefully. I'm also I'm supporting those voices to how to say, to stop the wars and to everybody to really support the peace, right? Should not support those escalated wars, and especially give the money to either companies and making the money from wars, or to those forces or to those organizations. They are trying to, let's say, keep supporting the wars. But I love Jewish people. I love Palestinian people as well. I love all these people from any kind of background. I'm myself is an immigrant as well. I'm in the U.S. for over 20 years, and to me, we are all I really appreciate the diversity here. Everyone from different background, from different countries. We have hundreds of different countries, people's background. I appreciate every one of them. Me personally, as I worked for corporate world for over 13 years, including Fortune 100 company, and then became an entrepreneur and abundance thought leadership coach for 15 years. The past 15 years, I feel today my conscience is calling me to speak up, not just for those protesters. I know among them there are different forces. They're quite complicated. It's quite a sensitive topic. But I want to just simply talk with those students. Actually, not just the Ivy students, right? But including other. I use Ivy there because in the title, it's just make it simple. People know that I'm talking about those college students, especially those ones they are called up by their conscience. They want to protest for the peace. They want the war to stop. Those ones, I have the deep empathy for them, and I think the universities, including Columbia universities, are quite some of the others, UC Los Angeles. They get hundreds of students arrested. I feel the school, the universities, administrations are not really doing their best. They are not doing their responsible leadership work. They are more administration management, but doing a poor operation management. Because I feel they did not support enough counseling and coaching, mentoring, and support to those students. Instead, they just pushed away them. After the failure of a negotiation, they just push them to the law enforcement, to police, and to get them arrested and not responsible for their next step. How to solve their, for example, their conscience kind of inner conflict, and they maybe make them feel they could not really keep silent. The things they need to talk about. It's just today, for example, here I'm talking about. I feel my conscience is calling me to talk about as a leadership coach. But these students are also driven by that kind of a pull. quite some students, I would say majority of them, I feel like I saw those how many of them, including like those peaceful ones, they are trying to show their voice, but did not get fully respected, especially did not get that coaching and mentoring, counseling support on the campus. And instead, the administration gave them away to the police. I feel that's a failure sign of leadership. It's but I would say some universities did a relatively better job, including here I want to mention a few. I remember I read the news, including the first one is Lost Western University, and then the Brown University, and then Zheng. Let's see, there are at least three I remember. They negotiated with the students and showed enough respect to them, and also formed that kind of a committee, counselor committee, to support students and to have that kind of space to talk and to negotiate and to understand each other, and eventually they will also arrange votes to get the students' voice being heard. I would say that's a much better example. Johns Hopkins, by the way, Johns Hopkins University. Okay, those three, at least I heard so far from the news reporting that there's some hope, right, from the university's administration side and the faculties as well. They are trying to, and many voices are actually unfairly blaming the Ivy schools, and all of them saying that, oh, they are all bad. I feel like now the danger of one single story, the danger is like misleading people or saying that, oh, if you are protesting, you are against the Jewish people. I feel that's not true. That's really lie. No, we are even though we're not protesting, even though we want to have the cease of war and the peace, right? But we are here for everybody, because we do not want to see the war any place. And far Middle East or in the US or like Russia and the Ukraine, all this kind of war should stop. But nobody is really, now the pity is because of the mess, because of chaos caused by like immaturity from a students movement, and they should not really really interrupt campus operations and also occupy like long and also the academic buildings. But now the real mess, or almost I could say, is a lose, right? It's not like a win-win-win, it's a lose. Everybody's losing. It's like the students is number one, volunteerable, or like a vulnerable sacrifice, or you would say like a victim, or even like a black sheep from this kind of movement. And many of them are suspended, many of them are now packaging and leaving. Actually, I saw some students there pack and leave this campus, and nobody's feeling safe, so that's not a good sign. And but then the most sad thing is like people forget about the true cause of this movement. And instead, most people are talking just about protesting or protests are not right, but they forgot about the big context. How about the war? The big problem, has been like a big conflict for hundreds of years, and how to solve that, and how the government leaderships, the political leaderships, right, and not just that, and all those big companies, those leaderships, where are they? How are they solving this kind of big context problems? And including the UN, like all these kind of big forces, how are they involved? Where are the true leaders? So that's what today I want to talk about. How could we eventually really achieve peace and win-win-win? So nobody becomes the victims. And do not just be distracted by the protesting and how messy it is, but what's the root cause and what's the real reason, and eventually the ultimate goal we want to achieve. That's what people should really pay more attention, and especially now, like a government, and they're all talking about voting on who will become the next president, but who is really doing the things to make the world better, to make the world more peaceful, instead of just keep wasting all this money, right, to supporting or to escalating the conflicts or the wars. The most fundamental principle, I would say, for student side or for protester sides is like, if whatever your good intention it is, and by the way, I admire your good intention, your intention, and especially your conscience, but the principle is, think about if your movement, your activities is giving people sign of that interfere other people's life, make them so inconvenient and really harm other people's rights, and especially showing any sign of unpeacefulness, right? And especially like any violence. That's no good. Okay, so I would encourage all those protesters reflect and think about your own principles and your ultimate goal, and thinking about that is how you could develop some like strategies, both protect yourself but also respect other people, respect the campus, respect other students' rights, and respect like all the staff and faculties, their human rights and their safety, right? Their well-being living on this campus. And another principle is for all the leaders there, industry leaders, government leaders, to think about this principle is like what kind of world you want to become. And with your involvement, how you could make the things better. And especially think about can you use evil to solve evil? You want to use like your ways, like violent ways to fight with violence. Can you really solve that problem? Or you are just on the contrast, just creating more evil things and just creating more violence. And that could not justify whatever, they are wasting our taxpayers' money to do. Okay, so that's two principles I want to see. So when I was walking to the Columbia University's entrance, when I was walking on the way, I was praying as a God, please give me this right voice to say. I know this is quite a sensitive situation. I'm personally never being political at all, right? But now I feel like instead of talking about any politics, I want to talk more about the conscience and also the leadership. How we could all work here together for the ultimate goal is the peace and the win-win-wins, the situation for everybody, every side involved, majority like the conscious people here. Instead of forgetting and being distracted by all these kind of messes, protests, and chaos, and how we could still focusing on that root cause and that big cause, a bigger, greater cause that everybody, how could we could bring more welfare and bring more goodness, kindness, compassion, love, understanding, respect, connection, and oneness to this world. In my word, that's the abundance word. Abundance word, that means everyone, we understand that we are conscious and understand that we are all connected. There's no evil way to solve evil situations. If we have any kind of a conflict, how could we use peaceful ways, really, really peaceful ways and respectful ways to achieve our long-term sustainable goals for the win-win-wins, instead of just wins for partial people or specific a special group of people, but how the benefits is could be out of any kind of a self-consideration or self-benefits, but for abundance of all. So that's my today's message. And by the way, at the end, I would have this kind of courage to provide this free coaching and mentoring for those IB protesters. And I feel like you guys need more support. If the campus could not provide you, I know the campus normally, including the IB universities, they will be focusing more on teaching you maybe knowledge. But the good thing is they at least cultivate you to be independent thinkers. I really, really appreciate that. And that kind of courage and conscience, that's a beautiful thing. And I think it's really the sparkles. I see sparkles from here, even though it sounds like everything is let's say, it's like a chaos, right? It's just like a bad ending. I feel like I still see the good signs. The positive side is I see that sparkles of conscience and compassion and also leadership. And I do not want allow this kind of a system, sometimes the society, right, formed a system with so many mediocre people without leadership kind of a thinking. They are trying to kill such kind of a leadership and such kind of a courage and conscience. And that's why I would like to just volunteer here to provide free coaching and mentoring for those IB protesters, not just IB. Remember, by the way, I'm only using the IB as a symbol. If you are one of the conscientious, right, and protesters, you think that you deserve more support, feel free to contact me, okay? And everyone, we are here. I hope that everybody, I would look forward, I'm open-minded and look forward to hearing from your, let me see how this is. getting back to me. How is your opinions about these things are happening in our world, here in the US and in this world? What's your opinion? What's your view about true leadership? And what you would suggest that people can do for the true win-win-wins and for the peace, for the compassion, and for long-term solution for our human beings, abundance of all. Thank you, everyone. Wish you all peaceful later spring and summertime and 2024. Is let every one of us contribute our part of efforts and build this abundance of all. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.